Shalom, this is Yah is Magnified, and I'm back with another informative video. Today's video is titled IWO and Your Employer. But before I tackle this subject, as always, I must state for the record, I'm not a lawyer, I do not practice law, and I do not pretend to. All my videos are for informational and educational purposes only. They're all facts and all truth, nothing more, nothing less. So with that being said, I would like for you all to hit that like button, and also if you're new to my channel, hit that subscribe button, and also hit that notification bell so you all can be notified as I'm dropping these power videos. So without further ado, let's get to it. Okay, so before you can stop at IWO, you must first understand how did you end up in that predicament in the first place, because majority of you guys who received the IWO already had your employer prior to being on child support. But for those who was already on child support, but switched jobs, and then child support enforcement agency sent you a new employer in IWO, and they start enforcing, you must still understand that everything is the same that I'm going to say in this video, so it applies to both situations. But now let's go back to the beginning. When you started your job, right? The moment you got hired, they gave you this thing called a new hire packet. In that new hire packet, it's a form that they give you. They give you a few forms, but one of the forms they give you is titled a job offer. In that job offer is a binding contract or a binding agreement that states how much they're going to pay you for how many hours worked. Okay? Either it's going to be a part-time, full-time, or tip job. Whatever one it is, it's still an agreement to work X amount of hours for X amount of pay. After that, they also give you this thing called, with your insurance packet in it and everything else. But they also give you this thing called an employee handbook, similar to what I have on the screen right here. So now let's read this employer's handbook pertaining to garnishments of child support. Let's read it. So they give you this the moment you get hired, and it states what? When an employee's wages are garnished by court order, highlighted in red, guys, court order. Some people say, well, child support is not signed by a court or by an actual judge, which is true. Child support orders are either done administratively between them and the agency, or between you and a support magistrate, which is not an actual judge. But how it becomes a court order, let's say if you had an administrative order that's done with the administrative agency, the agency will have the court, which would be the circuit or the district court judge, actually adopt the administrative order, making that order, which is an administrative order, now the order of the court, which makes it now in the court order. Same thing with a magistrate's order. Once you have a hearing with the magistrate, if you do not object to that hearing with the magistrate after the order is written in, then the order will automatically go to the circuit or the district court, and the circuit and district court judge will sign off on the support magistrate order, which makes that order now a final order of the court, which turns a support magistrate order and administrative support order into an order of the court. But let's continue on. It states, the company is legally bound to withhold the amount indicated in the garnishment order from the employee's paycheck. MCP will, however, honor applicable federal and state guidelines that protect a certain amount of an employee's income from being subject to garnishment. Human Resources will do everything possible to make employees aware of any new garnishments notice received before deductions begin. Highlighted in yellow. If you object to the garnishment order, it is your responsibility to appeal the order to the appropriate agency. That's true in part, but another part that they forgot is you also supposed to challenge it with the employer that is what? That is garnishing your wages. But let's continue on. Then it states, when an updated direction is received by the Human Resources Department, the garnishment will be adjusted according to the new documentation. So again, guys, they basically stating that you have to challenge it with the agency first, and then when you challenge it with the Child Support Enforcement Agency, if they agree to stop the income withholding order, then they will send it to your employer, and then your employer will deduct. But that's true in part, guys. So you can challenge it with the agency, but you're also supposed to challenge it with your employer. Okay? Why? For the reasons that I mentioned before this. So if you didn't catch it, go back and watch the beginning of the video when it's go off again, and you will understand what I'm stating. Okay? So now, for those who don't know what a IWO look like, let's go and see what an IWO look like. Okay, so this is the exact replica of what your employer received from the agency and or attorney to start the withholding process. But the only difference is this will be filled out in its entirety, okay? The sender information will be filled out. 9 times out of 10, they will check the first box that states income withholding order / notice for support, IWO. They will check child support agency, court, attorney, private individual, entity, check one. They will check one of those. They will put the state tribunal. They will fill all that information in. They will also put in your employer's information. Okay, the name of the employer, your employer address. On the right hand side, they will put your legal name and your legal information all on the right hand side. They will also put the children's information that they're going to withhold, and they will fill out other information as well. It's 4 pages total. We're just going to go over the first page. So after they send this to your employer should send you a copy of this as well, letting you know that in the following 2 weeks or the next pay period that they will start the wage garnishment, okay? So now you must understand what your employer is because you searched for a job and started to work for your employer. So now let's go over the legal definition for employer so we can get a better understanding of what that is. Okay, so now as you all can see on the screen, we have the legal definition of the term employer. Let's pick this up at the bottom left-hand corner where it reads employer, highlighted in yellow, and it states, one who employs the service of others, one for whom employees work and who pays their wages or salaries. The correlative of employee, see also master. Okay, as I stated before, go back in my older videos. I told you all that employer and employee is master-servant relationship. Okay, but simply what an employer is one who pays its employees wages and salaries. That's it. That's all. That's what an employer is. But now let's see what an employee is. Okay, now let's go to an employee to get better understanding. Let's scroll up. Upper left hand corner, guys, highlighted in yellow, and it reads employee. And it states a person in the service of another under any, highlighted in red, guys, the main part, contract of hire. And it's just that simple, guys. That's it. You're under a contract for hire. What is the contract? The contract is when you sign to work an X amount of hours for X amount of pay. That's it. That's all. Anything outside of that has nothing to do with the contract. Let's continue on. It states express or implied, oral or written, where the employer has the power or right to control and direct the employee and the what and the material details of how the work is to be performed. That's it, guys. That's the only thing that your employer has control over. The details on how the work is to be performed. Anything outside of that, it does not apply to the contract. So income withholding orders for credit cards, child support, any of that, it has nothing to do with your employer, guys. And it's just that simple. But let's continue on. Let's pick it up where it states one who works for an employer, a person working for salary or wages. Then it states generally when persons for whom services are performed has right to control and direct individuals who perform services not only as to result to be the accomplished by work, but also to details and means by which results is accomplished. Individual subjects to direction is an employee. That's it. That's all. An employee is one that's subject to directions of what? Of their employer. That's it. That's all. Anything outside of that is none of the employee's business. You're simply there to do a job. That's it. That's all. Your employer doesn't pay any other bills, so why do they feel as though they have a right to try to pay your child support? Alleged that it don't make sense, guys. But let's continue. It states, servant. Again, like I stated, the employer has a master-servant relationship. Let's read it. It states it's synonymous with employee. It's the same thing, guys. Let's continue up. That's the case law to support that. Let's continue. It states, however, employee must be distinguished from independent contractor, officer, vice principal. Okay, but look, I broke it down enough, guys. But hold on, before I leave, let's go to employment contract, right? Middle right hand page, it states, highlighted in yellow, employment contract. It states an agreement or contract between employer and employee in which the terms and conditions of one's employment are provided. That's it. That's all, guys. It's time for you all to wake up and see what's really going on. Stop letting these people try to bamboozle you to tell you that they have an obligation to pay your child support that or to turn your money over, that you are in agreement that they should pay you and you only that money. If they give it to anybody else, guys, they're simply breaking that agreement. And it's just that simple. But that's what I'm going to do for today. If you all need my help, hit me up in my email at y'allismagnified@gmail.com. Time to apply that pressure, guys. Let's get this right wisdom, this right knowledge, this right understanding. With that being said, I say shalom.